for that character. Honestly, I've been getting so much love here at the VCS recently. I can't quite cope with it. A little bit like the amount of love that Artemis gets. The MVP of 2021 Winter and the Zeri, the highest win rate ADC in the game, consistently banned away from him, and now he finally has the opportunity to play it.
I'm so excited. As unfortunately, I hear myself twice, so I'm not sure where that's coming from.
It's the sound echoing around the empty stadium, because sadly we don't have any viewers here. Well, not physically we don't have any viewers. I'm sure we do have plenty of people tuning in on the Twitch chat. But Artemis on the Zeri. Zeri is so strong. And she moves around at about 2,000 million miles an hour. But there's one little caveat. Malzahar, he stops you running around.
And the Malzahar pick is not only smart because of the Zeri. We already saw the Malzahar and C games for Saigon Buffalo, and I saw glimpses of that game, not the whole game, but it looked very strong, as we have an Engage on level 1 Aphelios, who doesn't really have anything to offer but his auto attack, so it makes a lot of sense. But yeah, the Zeri... So Tim talked a lot about the Zeri in lane, and of course, Zeri is quite abysmal in lane, but they get to level 2 first. Good counter Q from Taki. He's level 2 now as well. Artemis needs to be careful.
Well, Shogun's turning on him, and Shogun has the scythe available. That means he's healing up with every auto. And Artemis, less than 200 health. Shogun practically on full health. I think another thing that we can talk about, Yulwei, is the fact that Cerberus, now that they brought Post in, replacing Pun in the top lane, ever since that change, Cerberus have not lost a single game. 8 back-to-back game wins.
Yeah, not only have they not lost any games, they've looked dominant once the 20-minute mark hits. They have the slowest game time, they have by far the lowest combined kills per minute. It's not even close. Everyone else is above 1, and Cerberus sits at 0.8. They are basically playing a different game in the VCS. And maybe it's Post's influence. We already saw this team kind of going this way. They have some Korean members in their staff, and I am really, I guess, or maybe I strongly insinuate that this is really coming from the Korean staff members. This team is orienting their playstyle more at the international play, not so much at the VCS standard. 0.81 might sound rather high. I haven't actually checked other leagues, but it is so low here. And this team is actually quite bad in the early game too. They are behind on average in the early game. They are not doing too well in the early objectives either. But once 20 minutes, 25 minutes come, they win just every game. 8-game winning streak. Now the longest standing winning streak. And yeah, they're quite scary when it comes to the late game parts.
When we talk about Cerberus and the changes that have happened to their roster, we've got to talk about the jungle role. Fukwon filling in for Ego. And Fu is interesting to me because he's not someone who stands out a lot, and I think a lot of people would say, maybe rightly so, that he is subpar. But I think some interesting stats on Fukwon is the fact that he's usually down in CS at 15 minutes, but he's most of the time up in gold, and that usually suggests to me that you're just perma-ganking rather than trying to farm up.
Which is interesting, because we just talked about them having a low kill score, right?
Exactly.
Compared to other teams. But I think Fukwon has really come... Oh, wow, Poss is very low engaging here, as Yado needs to be careful. Oh!
It's 3-on-1. Yado, do you have the fancy feet? No, you don't. Froggy picks up first blood. Meanwhile, in the top lane, the two top laners duking it out. Husband flashing over the wall. He tries to Searing Judge, but he can't get the damage onto Poss, who picks up the outplay, picks up the kill.
What a close affair in the top, and that was so nicely done from Hasmed. He almost tricked Poss into stepping back there, but Poss, with the awareness, probably played some on himself, and he is a weak side top laner for the most part, so he's familiar with this champion. Great awareness and outplay. In the meantime, they get a kill on Froggy. He did invest his flash though, so he might be the next target for Fukwon, and we don't even have time to talk about the Fukwon. Maybe we'll come back when he does something else. Nicely done, Taki. Everyone investing their flashes. That's 2 flashes plus Xin Zhao being there in time. And this all just comes down to the flash exchange in the top lane. Look at Hasmed. And he eased, but Poss steps away. So nice. Poss immediately saw what Hasmed was going for. And now he's a kill ahead in top lane. The Renekton against On matchup can be rather close in CS, but when you get a solo kill, the Renekton has perma pressure for the rest of the laning phase.
Also good to see Saigon Buffalo throwing resources towards Froggy, something Rebel likes to bring up time and time again, that when Froggy gets resources put into him, he's able to perform very well. However, Saigon Buffalo looking for the play on the bottom side. They have the Graviton gun available, and now the Destiny being channeled, coming in. Who's the focus on? It's on Taki! Fook1 picks up the kill, but Froggy making his way down as well. Yano's silence, will he be able to stay alive? This is a 3v4, Nethergrass top down.
Wait, what?
Fook1, who's still alive. Call of the Void, but Wind becomes Lightning, picks up one. Another goes the way of Saigon Buffalo as Ron OP falls as well, and it's Saigon Buffalo who have the kill lead and who have the goal lead at 7 minutes into the game.
And you might be able to criticize Froggy for his laning phase, but you can never criticize him for his map movement, for his awareness, for his coordination with his team. This has always been his strongest suit, and he plays a very stationary, a very slow champion in Malzahar, but is there for the play, able to retaliate. 2-0-1 now, behind in CS by only 5, so that doesn't matter at all. And what a great Roman start to the game for Saigon Buffalo. Cerberus caught off guard in this bot lane play.
Speaking of that bottom lane play, we get to see it all over again, because Cerberus started things off and then Saigon Buffalo turned it when BJ showed up.
So they were trying to intercept Froggy's movement. You can see on the map they're actually spotting Froggy once he's moving. Froggy's already halfway through. So Froggy is only barely later than the Destiny, and that's such a huge tool, because of course Destiny is his ultimate, but Froggy just walked there and has his ultimate available still. Beautifully done. I think he actually cancelled the last instance, potentially, of damage. That felt kind of short to me. The Froggy ultimate. Doesn't matter, they get the kill, they lock down another one. Now 3-2 in kills. It's very close still in the early game, but you have to consider Cerberus' composition with the TF is supposed to be ahead at this point. So Saigon Buffalo being in the gold lead, having a 2-0 mid laner on their side is certainly boding well for their late game hopes.
I think we've been caster cursing a lot in this game. We talked about how Cerberus liked the low kill games, the slow games, but this feels so action-packed already. 5 kills in 8 minutes, so I guess we are at around that 0.8 kills per minute.
Yep.
The question becomes, once we transition from that from the laning phase to the mid game, how aggressive is it? How much will the teams be reserved?
That's a good question. We have to see. Usually Cerberus slows down in the mid-game. Oh, Zeri is only level 5. You can't really go for the fight. It would have been a nice engage if Zeri was level 6 and maybe the Aphelios weapons were not white and red, because that's always very scary to face, especially with something like a glacial augment on your tank support, so he's not quite as tanky. Still, a good hook and back into decent lane positioning. We see Artemis struggling in the CS department. If you look at the matchup, that's to be expected. If you look at the players, that's not to be expected. So certainly going Shogun's way. And of course, the lane pick of Aphelios over Jinx so far working out for them, as Froggy is here to make another dive work.
The Destiny has been used. Yado, though, going towards the top side, focusing onto Hazmed, and it's Poss who gets another kill. But Saigon Buffalo using this opportunity to get as many tower plates into Shogun as possible. And we're starting to see the identities for both teams. Cerberus playing around the top side, trying to get Poss rolling on this Croc. Whereas Saigon Buffalo, they want Shogun to be this team fighting menace on the Aphelios.
And so far it's a Yep Croc, but the Croc is definitely going to fall off later on in the game. He's not going to be able to carry the whole game. They get the first tower against the run of play, against the objective. So that is a huge advantage. And now Artemis so far behind his opposing number and already on the champion that kind of needs 2-3 items, especially against multiple tanky targets. I feel like he has to go Blade later on to actually threaten some lethal damage on Hazmed and on Taki. So I feel like Artemis now is in a huge hole and needs to just wait and farm up. Usually he's very good at that part of the game, so let's look at the movement of Cerberus and how much time they can buy for their star AD carry to come back into this game and build some items.
When you look at the composition from Cerberus, you have to think that their mid-game is going to be great, because while there is a 20 CS discrepancy in the bottom lane, there's also that 10 CS discrepancy in the top lane. And don't forget, Poss has 2 kills as well, and when we get to the mid-game skirmishing, I'd I'd put my money on the Renekton over the Aphelios.
Oh, for sure. And the Renekton with the Gore Drink already is gonna be a huge threat to deal with, but you have to consider there's also Malzahar in your back pocket, so with Malzahar, with Taki on the Alistar, one of the best counter-engaging champions in the game, especially if you are set to do just that. You can also try to engage, but you can also just sit on Shogun and just headbutt away any oncoming melee champion, so it's not an easy game for Post to carry, even with an early game lead, even in the mid game where his champion is the strongest, so I was kind of expecting him to focus more on the lane matchup, but if you go Hullbreaker here, you basically forfeit any team fighting power later on, so I don't think he can afford to do that. This will also mean that that Hasmid can just farm up some levels. He needs to go to level 14, level 15 to really impact the game. But yeah, right now we are seeing Saigon Buffalo group around Artemis again. They don't want him to have time to farm up. They want to punish him over and over again, like this move, generally from the Saigon Buffaloes.
The fact that we're 12 minutes in and both teams are pushing onto inner towers feels absolutely bizarre. We've only had one Drake secured as well. And speaking of Drakes, we've got our next Drake in just under 2 minutes, and it's Saigon Buffalo who have been able to take the bottom lane out of tower, so surely that's going to give them a bit of extra control around the river, and we can already see all of those red trinkets dotted around it.
Yeah, and with Hextech Dragon, or Hextech Soul I should say, still a possibility. You don't really want to give her the second dragon. You might have to, because look at the inventory of Artemis, it's still pitiful. There is nothing coming from him, not even boots. Like, he didn't even go for boots earlier.
There you go.
Okay, Trinity completed now, so at least he's somewhat strong in the mid game now. He's still going to have a very hard time against the tankier targets, because Trinity definitely not the greatest item to deal with the Ornn that's already sitting on 130, 140 armor. But yeah, potentially the Zeri is going to be a little bit stronger than I anticipated for the next dragon fight in 1 minute. So Cerberus in a position where they can choose to fight. They would love to have the flash down on any of the carries, so let's see if they try anything in the next minute to maybe force a flash or a cleanse from Shogun. Because right now, the accelerated AD carry is super safe in the backline.
We have here a bit of a lull state, and right as I say that, Taki starts to look towards the top side. Froggy is here as well. There's a lot of CC that can be layered on top of each other. BJ heading up as well. Destiny available, but in comes the engage onto Post. Taki tanking up the tower as Froggy does the damage, and BJ picks up the kill.
And unfortunately, Yado not on the correct side of the map to counterplay this. This was a good defensive fate. But yeah, if he's in mid lane at this point, he can teleport into the top lane, probably thwarting the dive. But he was sitting in bot lane, so no way for him to get there. Decent pick for Saigon Buffalo. The teleport for Post is available, so it's basically just a kill in the tower. It doesn't really change anything about the dragon. In fact, the potential overinvestment in the top side gives Cerberus a free second dragon, so they are given time to scale at the cost of a little bit of gold inducement right now into the Saigon Buffalo members. But this also means the game is much easier to control in the next 10 minutes for Cerberus. They can just choose to contest any dragon they want to, they're not forced to in the next 10 minutes.
Oh, we do have just under 5 minutes to wait for the Drake, just over 5 minutes for the Baron Nashor. And Saigon Buffalo can continue to try to scale, they can continue to try to push in lanes, try to be able to find picks, as we saw that pick in the top lane on to Post, that beautiful 3-man collapse. BJ though, starting up on the Rift Herald, he's going to be forced out as the Cerberus Goon Squad make their way into the topside river.
Okay, Cerberus now with a little bit of priority on this objective. Bot lane is nowhere near the towers, so Saigon Buffalo kind of lost on the map rotation. Taki and Shogun getting hooked. Oh.
Ron OP, he gets the dredge line, drops down the depth, a charge, a cleanse and a flash from Shogun takes him out. As Zeri drops down the ultimate, down is a Yado. Pause doing a work, but is it quite enough? Because Saigon Buffalo are just cleaning things up. Pause won't be able to get a kill. Meanwhile, BJ practically under tower. Crescent Guard picks up, no! Fook 1 stays alive. and it will just be one falling from the side of Saigon Buffalo as they get 4 kills. They don't care about the Rift Herald anymore. They turn their attention towards the outer tower in the mid lane, and they can probably pick up the inner tower as well.
And it's still such a weird game to look at because these teams are basically playing each other's style. Saigon Buffalo with the late game scaling composition with kite back and counter engage, which is usually the strong suit for Cerberus, with a super strong accelerated early AD carry, which is usually the role Artemis plays. And on the other side we have Cerberus with the mid game focused composition with a lot of engage, very aggressive comp you could say, which Saigon Buffalo has erred towards more often than not. So it feels like the teams have kind of swapped places here, and it looks like Saigon Buffalo can play the Cerberus style better than Cerberus can play the Saigon Buffalo style so far.
Well, I think Saigon Buffalo can be very happy with their performance so far today. Obviously a long series ahead, total of up to 3 games, but this is how everything started, and Ron OP thinking he had the angle for the engage.
Yeah, here's the problem, they weren't able to force any of the summoners of Shogun early on, and look at Shogun's positioning, it's so safe, it's so nice over the wall. He still has his Gale Force to reposition once again, and then I'm not entirely sure what Artemis was trying to do. I think he was tunnel visioning a little too hard on the enemy ADC. Jumped into 4 members, insta-died, something we don't really see or associate with Artemis too much, but in this game, his first ever Zeri game, he's getting too excited, and now Cerberus falling really far behind, especially in the ADC department. That's almost 2 completed items from Shogun, and Artemis has just started building the first Ruby Crystal towards his Titanic Hydra, or potentially the Black Cleaver. That's the other item he could build, but that's still so far out of the window. I think by that point, Saigon Buffalo is probably breaking inhibitors.
I actually want to quickly praise Post because he did this one very cool micro calculation, micro play in the previous fight that I think was very easy to make. In fact, I kind of want to see it again to double check. But he actually flashed into Shogun's Moonlight Vigil, and that stopped Shogun from getting, I think it would have been a 3-man ult off. And in the end, it didn't actually accomplish anything because, hey, Cerberus practically got wiped. But it was still quite nice to see.
Unfortunately, I believe that was the Red Gun ultimate, which instantly healed him for like 200, 250 HP, and actually pushed the threshold that Poss needed to one-shot him after flashing on top of him out of range. So yeah, I really like the play, I like the awareness, but in the end it didn't actually matter too much because they still overextended trying to kill Shogun. Now his summoners are down, still for a while, especially the flash, so if there would ever be a chance to counterplay and get back into this game with a few picks, now is the time to attack Shogun, because once his flash is available, his Gale Force is cleansed with Taki's protection, with Froggy's counter engage, I don't think you will ever be able to kill him again in this game, so strike now or never.
Right now or never. Well, Cerberus are searching for an opportunity. They might have one in the form of an Ocean Drake in 30 seconds time. But 2,500 gold behind. Do Cerberus dare to look for the fight? Right now, Artemis just sitting in the top lane, just farming up as Saigon Buffalo pushing the mid lane.
They question mark pinged him. Saigon Buffalo question mark pinging Artemis' solo push in the top lane. I'd love to see that. And Taki's in.
Taki's engaging. This is a 4v3. Artemis is not here. Ron OP making his way over.
Oh.
Kelly gets a charge onto the inhibitor as well. 19.5 minutes in, but Artemis doesn't care. He's still pushing. He's got his own master plan that he wants to be carrying out.
Rage splitting in the top lane. We've all seen this in our solo queue games. He's actually working. Yeah, Zeri is quite good at taking down towers.
Did he get this?
He shouldn't be able to because Hasmet is here in time, but he chipped down the tower rather low. So if there's ever a winning fight in the top side of the map for Cerberus, they can immediately run towards top lane and get the inhibitor. So it opens up a string of play that you don't really have available to you, especially as a losing team. So could actually come back to bite Saigon Buffalo that they ignored him this long. Usually I'm all in favor of ignoring Rage Splitters because you can just force on the other side. But in this case, he was so quick on the push. Yeah, that this might really be a way back into the game for Cerberus.
And he almost got that inhibitor tower as well. If he had gotten that, that would have been absolutely massive. He picked up the inner tower. Did he pick up the outer? No, the outer tower was already down. Post picked that up earlier in the game.
Inner tower is still 600 gold into him, right? So you can see immediately he has 2 items now under his belt. He's back in the game. If he gets to some armor penetration, which I think should be the next, probably just Black Cleaver. I really think you should go for a Blade here. Blade on Zeri has come up, mostly on 12.4. I've seen it a lot because Blade was buffed. She already goes Ingenious Hunter, so Blade is going to be active much more often. So yeah, I really like the Blade, especially against the tanky targets in this game, but she might have to forgo the Blade for a while to build a little bit of armor penetration, because of course there are also a lot of armor items being built up.
Now, Baron has been started by the side of Saigon Buffalo. They're trying to rush this down. Destiny will grant vision for the side of Cerberus. Fook1 trying to find a way in from behind. But can he steal this away? Do Cerberus want the fight, or do Cerberus just want to go for the steal? In goes Fook1. Baron to 800, but it's secured by the side of Saigon Buffalo. Call of the Forge God, and the Croc has already been taken down. Shogun can run wild. Artemis and Yano the only two
beautiful
up, but there's so many chakrams tucked up. It's a double kill for Shogun. Now they look to Yano, flashes over the wall. BJ flashes in pursuit, and BJ will pick up the double kill. It's an ace for nothing, and Saigon Buffalo get the Baron Nashor as well.
And this is exactly how Saigon Buffalo overcame Cerberus in Spring Players just a year ago. Decisive shot calling, decisive team fighting, engage on the same page. Beautiful from Taki and BJ. The turn on Artemis. Artemis is just starting to stack up his passive ultimate stacks and get faster and faster. And then they instantly jumped on him, locked him down, another kill to Shogun. Now the game should be over. Beautiful play from Saigon Buffalo, really showing us that they are here to stay at the top of the table. It's not Cerberus and Gum anymore, or not only Cerberus and Gum anymore, I should say. And look at what they invest to try and kill Taki at the start. He is the tankiest champion in the game. If the Baron goes over to Cerberus, maybe they can disengage here and just say, okay, we have the Baron, we have a little bit of time to scale, but the Baron doesn't go over, so at this point they know we have to win the fight or the game is over.
What is Artemis doing there?
Yeah, he's playing on the edge, or actually a little bit over the edge, I'd say, in this case. Not the greatest Zeri performance for sure. He does look a little unpracticed, a little unsure where he can go. His limits tested, but also overstayed quite a bit, so yeah, Artemis Zeri, so far, not it.
Not quite it. Speaking of what's it and what isn't it, what do we make of Froggy's decision to take the Morello and rush it second item, and Taki going the Shirelias?
There are a few interesting item decisions. We also have Sterok's second item on 12.3, which is illegal, which is completely illegal. This item was nerfed in a way to make this item build impossible, and BJ just said, I'm gonna build it anyway, who can stop me? So, but items don't matter in this kind of game state. The game is too far advanced for items really to come in. Hasmet is even level 15, so he has bestowed 2 on items already, as he messes up the W too early to actually get rid of the CC there. But yeah, Typhoon is already there for Shogun. We have Leandri's Lament, I believe is the name of the on upgrade, so that's kind of overcoming the item, the losses to Boris. Hasmet can make up for them.
A 7k gold advantage as well, I'm sure, will be helping in that regard. But what a performance from Saigon Buffalo so far. Absolutely dominant over Cerberus. And it's one of the few times we can actually say in the VCS that you beat Artemis in lane.
Yeah, they did. And to be fair to Artemis, it's maybe the weakest ADC champion in lane. And they chose their counter. They didn't go for Jinx just for scaling and for win rate. They went for Aphelios, confident in Shogun that he would be able to outperform Artemis here, especially in the laning phase. And to be fair to him as well, because Shogun has gotten a lot of flack, especially from my side, because I thought Shogun should look better at this point. This game, he's up to the task, 4-0-4, 12k gold under his belt, 2k ahead of Artemis individually, which is something that almost never happens, even in Cerberus losses. Artemis is almost always the one to hold strong to try and get Cerberus back into the game. Speaking of Cerberus and their performances in the last few weeks, 8-0 in games after their initial loss. Do you know what happened when Gum was 8-0 in games?
Did Saigon Buffalo take a game off them?
Yes, they did. And they might just take this game right here, right now.
You might be 8-0, but you won't be going 9-0. Corner of the Forge God, and lockdown taken down. Goodbye, Yano. Goodbye, Cerberus. And goodbye, Artemis. It's a pentakill for Shogun. You don't just take down Artemis, you take him down in style, you pick up the pentakill in the process, and Saigon Buffalo